Hello dear students. In this chapter we will be studying cosets, and that will be a kind of build up for one of the most important theorems in group theory, that is Lagrange's theorem. We have already used Lagrange's theorem while finding all subgroups of a finite group, and at that stage I had mentioned that we do not have enough machinery to prove the result. But in this chapter, we will first develop enough machinery, and then we will look at the proof of Lagrange's theorem. So in today's lecture, we will start with the definition of coset of a subgroup, and we will also look at some examples. So we start with the definition. Let H be a subgroup of a group G and A be an element of the group. So I take a group G, I take a subgroup of G, and I take an element A in G. This set the subset which is denoted by AH and which is defined as A times H, where H lies in capital H, is called a left coset of H in G. So look at this set AH. In this set, I have taken elements of the kind A times H, where H lies in capital H from the subgroup H. So every element in this set looks like a product of two elements, where the first element is specifically A and the second element could be any element so long as it lies in the subgroup H. So in other words, we have multiplied every element of the subgroup H from the left with the element A. Now we have mentioned this earlier also. When I speak about multiplication, it need not really be multiplication. In the general context, when I say multiplication, it is whatever binary operation is there on the group. So when I write A into H over here, what I really mean is A star H, where star happens to be the binary operation that is there on the group. So this is the meaning we give to AH, and also we have called this set as a subset of G. That is fairly obvious because the element A lies in G. Every element of capital H will also be inside G, and therefore by closure property, every such product will lie inside capital G. So we call this as a subset of G, and this subset is called as a left coset of H in G, obviously because we are multiplying every element of the subgroup H from the left with the element A. Similarly, we can define a right coset of H in G as you simply change the direction of A in the product. So this time we multiply every element in the subgroup from the right by the element A. This is called a right coset of H in G. So we have defined a left coset as well as a right coset of a subgroup in a group, and this is for any element A in G. So for every element of the group, you can define one left coset of H and one right coset of H in G. To understand this concept better, let's look at several examples. So as our first example, look at the group G, which we are fairly familiar with by now. It contains the complex numbers 1 minus 1, I minus I with respect to the operation of multiplication. And in this group, let us take H to be 1 minus 1. Then we know that H is a subgroup of G. So let us now obtain all left cosets of H in G. So in this example, I wish to obtain all left cosets of H in G. Remember, every element of G will give rise to one left coset and one right coset of H in G. Now in this problem, I am interested in only left cosets of H. So let me start with the left coset 1H. Consider the left coset 1H. One way of looking at it is, you multiply every element in the subgroup H from the left by the element 1. So this will be 1 times 1, 1 times minus 1, which gives us the set 1 minus 1. Notice that this is the same as the subgroup H. So with the element 1 of the group, I have formed one left coset of H. Now let's look at yet another left coset. Let's look at the left coset that we will get with the next element. So minus 1 times H. Now I multiply every element of the subgroup H from the left by minus 1. So I'll get minus 1 into 1, minus 1 into minus 1. So that will be minus 1 plus 1. Notice that in a set, order of elements is not important. So this is still the same as H. Also, let's look at the left coset IH. IH will be I into 1 and I into minus 1. I have to multiply every element in the subgroup from the left with the element I. So I into 1 and I into minus 1. So that will give me I and minus I as elements in this set. So this is yet another coset that I have got. Now pause your video and find the last left coset of H in G corresponding to this element minus I. Pause your video, write down the elements of that coset and get back to the video. So if you look at minus IH, it's going to be the same as IH, because you will get the elements minus I and I, which is the same as these elements except for a different order. So this left coset is going to be the same as this left coset. So remember what I mentioned, with every element of G, I will get one left coset of H in G. So in all, I should expect 4 left cosets. So I have found 4 left cosets of H in G. However, not all of them are distinct. So look at the distinct left cosets. I have got only 2 distinct left cosets of H in G. So in this example, though I should be expecting 4 left cosets, and I did find 4 left cosets, not all of them are distinct. We realize that there are only 2 distinct left cosets of H in G, namely H or 1H and IH. So for this subgroup, there are precisely 2 distinct left cosets of H in G. I'm emphasizing this fact a little more because I'm going to, once we do one more example, then I will give you the definition of index of a subgroup. So that is what I have in mind. So let's look at one more example. Let's also look at one example where we wish to find right cosets. By the way, I must mention over here that if your group is abelian, then this contains elements which which are obtained by multiplying every element of the subgroup H from the left by A, whereas in the right coset, you multiply every element of the subgroup H from the right by A. But if the group is abelian, as I mentioned, whether you multiply A from the left or you multiply A from the right, A into H is going to be the same as H into A. So if the group is abelian, every left coset is equal to corresponding right coset. So in this example, because this was an abelian group, instead of left cosets, had I obtained right cosets also, I would have ended up with precisely the same cosets. So in an abelian group, every left coset automatically is equal to corresponding right coset. One should also ask the question, would this be satisfied even if the group is not abelian? So that would be a question worth asking. Is every left coset of a subgroup, some subgroup, equal to every right coset of that subgroup, even if the group is not abelian? So again, at the moment, we are not in a position to answer this question straight away. So we will have to wait for a later chapter. But for the moment, just file away this question and keep. Okay, so let's go to the next example. Example 2. Obtain all distinct right cosets of the subgroup H equal to 3Z in the group Z. So this time, let us obtain all right cosets of H in the group Z. Firstly, notice that the group operation on Z is not given, but anyway Z with respect to multiplication is not a group. So it is understood that we are talking about the operation of addition on Z. So we are looking at an additive group, and for this additive group, 3Z is definitely a subgroup. We are now interested in finding right cosets. Again, it won't really matter whether we find right cosets or left cosets because this group is also abelian. But just for the heck of it, let us find all right cosets. Another important thing to note over here is that the group operation is addition, not multiplication. So do not make the mistake of multiplying the elements in the coset. Because the group operation is addition, yes, there's one more difficulty. Look at Z. Z contains elements like -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Also the subgroup 3Z will contain all multiples of 3. So it has -6, -3, 0, 3, 6 and so on. It has all the multiples of 3. So firstly, in this example, I am dealing with an infinite group and an infinite subgroup. So how am I going to find all possible right cosets? That is a question worth thinking about. Another question is, with every element of the group, I am going to get one right coset. So problem is where to begin. So in this example, we are facing two problems to begin with. Where do we start and where do we end? Well, if the question is that tough, let's make it simple. Let's just start arbitrarily somewhere and then go in one direction and see where life takes us. Okay? Then we will think about where exactly we are supposed to stop. So, just for convenience, I will start with the element 0. Remember, I am looking at right cosets. So, this element 0 will have to come to the right of the subgroup. Also, group operation is addition, not multiplication. So, when I look at my first right coset, it should be properly denoted by H plus 0. H is this subgroup, 3Z. So, in other words, what I need to do now is, because the group operation is addition, to every element in this set, I must add 0 from the right. As I said, because addition is commutative, it doesn't matter whether you add from the right or the left. Also, initially we are adding 0 to every element in this set, so it's not going to make a difference to any of the elements. I'll get back the same set. So this first right coset that I get is the same as h itself. Now let's look at the next right coset, and we just decide to go in this direction. So let's look at the right coset h plus 1. To obtain this, I need to add 1 to every element in this set from the right. So minus 6 plus 1 will give me minus 5. Minus 3 plus 1 will give me minus 2. This will be 4, 7 and so on. So this is yet another right coset that I get. Next, let us add 2 to every element in this set and see what I get. H plus 2 is equal to, let's add 2 to every element here. So minus 4, minus 1, 2, 5, 8 and so on. This is yet another right coset that I have got. Also, if I look at h plus 3, that means I add 3 to every element in this set. I'll get minus 3, 0, 3, 6, 9 and so on, which is essentially the set of all multiples of 3. So this is once again the same as h. And if you decide to continue h plus 4, take some time and write it out if you want, check for yourselves. You will get h plus 4 is the same as h plus 1. That means beyond this stage, the right cosets simply repeat. So I am not going to get any new right cosets. And therefore, if I am interested in just distinct right cosets, then I have got all my distinct right cosets. I have got 3 distinct right cosets of h in Z. And it is this number of distinct cosets which is going to be important for us. So before we go to the properties of cosets, let me give you a definition immediately. So let's look at the definition of the index. Let H be a subgroup of a group G. Then the number of distinct left or right cosets for that matter of H in G will be called the index of H in G. That means for a particular subgroup, you count the number of distinct left cosets or you count the number of distinct right cosets. Incidentally, the two will be the same. So it doesn't matter whether you count left cosets or right cosets. So the number of distinct left cosets is called the index of H in G, and we use this notation or this notation for the index of H in G. Now, if you look at the examples that I have given you, if the group is finite, then definitely the index has to be finite, because for every element in the group, we will get one left or one right coset of H in G. So there will be finitely many left cosets, and that too some of them may be repeated. So the number of distinct cosets may be even less than the number of elements in the group. So if the group is finite, definitely the index is going to be finite. But if the group is infinite, even if subgroup, group as well as subgroup are infinite, if you look at example 2, the number of distinct cosets was still finite. So if the group is infinite, then index could be either finite or infinite. So in any case, the definition of the index is simply the number of distinct left cosets of H in G or the number of distinct right cosets of H in G. So if you look at the first example where we took the group G equal to 1 minus 1, I minus I, and we took H to be the subgroup 1 minus I, we get precisely two distinct left cosets H and IH. So for this group, for this subgroup, the index is equal to 2. And if you look at the second example, I had taken H to be the subgroup 3Z and the group to be Z. There we found that there were three distinct right cosets of H in G. namely h or h plus 0, h plus 1 and h plus 2. So the index of this subgroup in the group Z is equal to 3. It's not very difficult to prove that the index of nz in Z will be equal to n for any integer n. That's all for now. In the next lecture, we'll look at a few properties of cosets. Thank you.